Hi everyone, I'm Eric from the book blog Lonesome Reader, and this is my February book haul where I'm going to be talking about these 10 books sent to me by publishers that I'm really excited to read. And these are all books that are being published in February in the UK, except for one of the books, a very special one that I'm going to talk about in a minute. But how has your reading year been going so far? Before I start talking about the books, there is something I want to ask you about first. I might be moving soon and going to a new house and getting more space to put more books up, which I'm really excited about. And I was thinking before I move, if I move, fingers crossed, that I should do a bookshelf tour. I've seen several people do that, and it's quite fun and interesting to see people's personal libraries. So I was wondering if there's any interest out there, like do you enjoy watching bookshelf tours? I thought it might be quite fun to do one now while I'm here in this apartment, and then in my new apartment to do a bookshelf tour of that new place once everything is up and I hopefully have many more bookshelves. So yeah, give me your thoughts about that in the comments below, and let me know what you think. So I'm going to jump in and talk about the books that are being published in February that I'm really excited to read. I'm about a third of the way through reading this novel, Three Daughters of Eve by Elif Shafak. This is being published by Viking Books UK, and this is the first novel I've read by this author, this Turkish author, who's very popular, and it's beautiful. The writing's beautiful, and it's a really gripping story. She draws you into this story about a woman named Perry who is just in a normal day in her car with her daughter in the car, and suddenly her purse is stolen and something snaps inside of her, and she decides to do something about it. And it goes back and tells the story of her life and her family's life. She's living her adult life in Istanbul, and she studied in Oxford. There were friends that she met there and a life she had there before she settled down to her family life in Istanbul. It's a really good, well-paced, gripping story that I'm enjoying, so I'm looking forward to finishing this book. Next is the very special novel, Book of American Martyrs by Joyce Carol Oates, and this is actually being published in the US in February by Echo. This was sent to me because I review all of Joyce Carol Oates' new publications for this academic website, which is dedicated to her work because she publishes so much. And I love her work so much. I love reviewing all of her new books. And this is her new novel, and it's a massive mammoth one. It's being published in the UK not till June, I think, by Fourth Estate. So yeah, it's quite a big book, over 700 pages long, and I've just started. I've read the first section of it, about 100 pages, and it is all about Christian fundamentalism and the issue of abortion, and that is sort of scarily relevant issue in America right now. I mean, it's always been a contentious issue, but especially at the moment because the new president of America has just very vocally stated that he is pro-life and he intends to push for policies which back up that stance. So this debate is very topical, and Joyce Carol Oates makes a very dramatic story about it in this new novel, and yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far. I always love her writing, which is so engaged and intelligent, and she writes such wonderful dynamic characters, and this book has that in spades. So I'm looking forward to snuggling up somewhere cozy for a long time and finishing this epic new novel. The next is another mammoth novel called The Heart's Invisible Furies by John Boyne, the Irish author, and this is being published by Doubleday, and this looks like such a gripping, heartfelt story. It's a tale of a boy who was born out of wedlock to a girl in rural Ireland, and in the 1940s, I think, and it follows his life, his coming to terms with his own identity throughout his life up until about the present day. And I've heard such wonderful, positive, exciting things about this book. I'm really excited to read it. Next is another very much anticipated novel called The Good People by Hannah Kent. This is her follow-up novel from her first novel, Burial Rites, which I loved. This wonderful story about a female murderer in Iceland centuries ago. And this is her new novel, The Good People, published by Picador. And look at what a beautiful cover it has. It has this wonderful gold, like, sort of leaf design to it, which is gorgeous and beautiful, although it's like a bit tricky because I don't know if you can see, but it actually makes it a bit hard to read the writing at the bottom. There's a quote from Paula Hawkins at the bottom. But anyway, it is a really beautiful book. It's another historical novel, and it's also set in Ireland, like John Boyne's book. And it's about a woman whose husband dies quite suddenly in the early 1800s. And it's about two other women that she gets to know and the bond that they form together. So I'm really looking forward to reading this new book by Hannah Kent, because, yeah, I think she's a wonderful writer. The Fatal Tree by Jake Arnott, and this is published by Scepter. And Jake Arnott is an author who I've never actually read, though I've seen him read a couple times and keep meaning to read his books. And it's funny how, like, you get those authors sometimes where you're like, oh yeah, I really want to read them, and then you just don't get around to it. But I do really want to read this book. It sounds like a really fascinating book about a notorious woman called Elizabeth Lyon, and it says that this is a book depicting several scenes of notorious highwaymen and thief-takers and unnameable acts witnessed in bawdy academies and molly houses. And I think that sounds like a lot of fun. So it's a historical novel that I think will be a really enjoyable, gripping read. For the next novel, we are going back to Ireland with Sara Baume's new novel, A Line Made by Walking. And it has this adorable fox on the cover, and I'm always a sucker for books with foxes on the cover. But this is her follow-up novel to her first book, Spill, Simmer, Falter, Wither, which is a really strange, odd novel about a man and his relationship with his dog, and he sort of goes off on a trip, this like intense meditative trip of solitude, looking inside himself. And this is sounds like it's another book about a intense solitude, about a young man and who goes off to live by himself, and his development as an artist, where I think he becomes a photographer. But Sara Baume is a very distinctive, interesting author. Nobody's really writing about subjects or in a style like she is today, I think. So she's really an author to watch. Her writing's really thought-provoking, but also beautiful, and I really enjoyed her first novel, so looking forward to this. The next book I really want to read is called Black Wave by Michelle T, and this is published by The Wonderful and Other Stories. It's about a girl named Michelle in San Francisco in 1999, and she gets into the kind of alternative scene there, and her life as a lesbian and a rebel, and what's not to like about that. So, and Michelle T is another author that I've always really meant to read and never have read. So I can't wait to read this, and hopefully Michelle T will be introduced and become better known in the UK. Next is Under the Almond Trees by Laura Mcveigh, and this is going to be published by Two Roads, who are a great publisher. It's the story of a teenage girl and her family who are refugees fleeing from Afghanistan, and they travel on the Trans-Siberian Express, I think, and end up in Russia. And it's about their journey and the stories of their lives. And I think it sounds like a really heartrending and fascinating novel. Another Brooklyn by Jacqueline Woodson, and this is published by One World, who also published the Booker Prize winner for the past 2 years. And this novel is set in Brooklyn in the 1970s. I'll just read this little blurb because it makes it sound like such a good story that's right up my street. They used to be inseparable. They used to be young, brave and brilliant, amazingly beautiful and terrifyingly alone. August, Sylvia, Angela and Gigi shared everything, songs, secrets, fears and dreams. But 1970s Brooklyn was also a dangerous place, where grown men reached for innocent girls, where mothers disappeared and futures vanished at the turn of a street corner. So it sounds like a really good story, and Jacqueline Woodson is a National Book Award finalist. She's not really known in the UK that well, I don't think. And it's also quite a short, concise novel. It's only, I think, around 170 pages, which might be a bit of a relief. after reading some of these much bigger novels. And finally, there is a debut novel called Idaho by Emily Ruskovich, and this is published by Chatto and Windus. It's the story about a family who are going about their normal day. They go out to collect wood, and then something very shocking and tragic happens. I don't know what that is, but that's what it says. Something big happens, which sort of separates the family, and it's told from multiple perspectives to get the different voices of this family and different points of view. And it has a really lovely cover. And then also there's a quote on the front of it from Rachel Joyce, who says, "It is unflinching, unfrilly, multi-layered storytelling that is both beautiful and devastating." And that's a quote that really caught me, because I love Rachel Joyce's writing. And so if this writing is sort of akin to hers, I'll be really excited to get into it. So those are 10 books that I'm all really excited to read and hoping to have time to read if I don't get wrapped up in solicitors and all this tedious property stuff if this move happens. So keep your fingers crossed for me for moving to this new place. Let me know if you've heard of any of these books, if you've read any of them, what you think about them, what you're looking forward to, and also let me know if you'd be interested in having me do a tour of my bookshelves video before I move away from here. So thank you for watching. If you want to hear more of my thoughts about books, please subscribe to my channel. I'll talk to you soon, and happy reading, everyone.